Welcome back to the Story of Liberty. This is John Bona. You know, there have been very few people who have made such a significant impact on the world, such as Dr. John Wycliffe. You'll notice that history is like a drama, and there are but a few principal actors. I had the opportunity of visiting the Lollards churchyard where Dr. John Wycliffe preached. In this particular churchyard, we read and learned that the monks were so intent on annihilating the doctor's bones after he was dead. I found that very strange, because Dr. Wycliffe was a preacher, and though he had been dead some 40 years, he still continued to be heard. That may sound strange, but people were talking about his sermons and what he had done in translating the Bible into English. It was a monumental event in the history of the world. So they burn his bones. But there are some things that the fire will not burn, such as liberty, truth, and justice. Little do they think that the doctor will keep on preaching, and that his parish will eventually be the world. His followers will be citizens of every land, and that his preaching, together with that great parchment, that great piece of paper of beeswax, brought about liberty, new things to the human endeavor. Thrones would be overturned. Sovereigns will become subjects. The consent of the governed will be established. At this point in time, only one man in 1,000 can read. Men are ignorant. Only the parish and the priests and the rich children have an opportunity to obtain an education. There are no schools for the poor. The people, in fact, are very ignorant. The people are also superstitious, and that's what ignorance brings. The people believe in ghosts and goblins. They have stories to tell about brave knights and dragons that spit fire. Although no one has ever seen a dragon, everybody believes that these creatures exist, and they can make their appearance at any moment and burn someone into oblivion. The people also believe in witches, and the old women who become wrinkled with age are supposed to sell themselves to the devil. The depravity of man at this time is so debased that they drink themselves drunk in the village alehouse. There's nothing else to do. If a priest or a monk commits a crime, although it could even be murder, they have no court. They are innocent. But if one of the people commits a crime or murder, he will have his head chopped off by one of the king's executioners. There is no rule of law. But Dr. Wycliffe is translating the Bible into English. He makes a friend with a girl, and she's as good as she is beautiful, Anne, the daughter of the King of Bohemia. She comes to England to be the wife of the Prince of Wales. She listens to Dr. Wycliffe and becomes his friend. Dr. Wycliffe is a good man, and he preaches against the immoral practices of the monks and the friars. The Pope at this time, he decreed that men must believe in religion as he believes. There is no appeal from his decree. If man believes differently, he shall be thrown into prison and tortured until he makes confession, and then he is burned to death, and all his property is confiscated. Who gave the Pope and the Church at this time the authority? No one. They took it. And having taken it, they intend to keep it. Now let me say, folks, that both Protestants and Catholics did things that were very wrong during this time in history. Many mistakes were made in the name of the Christian religion. But the Pope has made a commission to set men to be burnt for their heresy. These commissioners or inquisitors are men who ask questions, and they have the power to put men to death, to torture, and to confiscate property. This is a very difficult time in history. But the story of liberty continues, and what comes out of this is amazing. Dr. Wycliffe, he informs the people and the priests and even the Pope himself that they're all sinful like other men, that all men fall short. No, there's none good, no, not one. Although they may belong to a holy office, it does not make them holy men. To be holy, they must live a holy life, and no man could do that. And now they cannot tolerate such preaching. But people are beginning to exercise their thoughts and their beliefs in the Bible, and it's the beginning of liberty. Dr. Wycliffe is now summoned to appear again at the bishop's court in the palace of the Archbishop of Canterbury, but he declines to go. Dr. Wycliffe does not obey it because he's becoming an old man, and he decides that at this particular time there's two popes anyway. Who's the real pope? There's one in Rome and one in France. There's a great division in the church. Dr. Wycliffe wisely does not make an appearance. He remains in England and continues to preach the gospel to the people of Lutterworth. Great crowds come to hear him on Sunday and his work during the week. He's translating a book from the Latin into the English language, the Holy Bible. This is a monumental event in the history of the world. The only Bibles in England at this time are the ones in the libraries at Oxford or Cambridge, or the abbeys and monasteries, and there's some in churches, but they're chained to the pulpit. They are all in Latin or Hebrew and written on parchment. Scarcely one person in 10,000 has ever read the Holy Writ. But Dr. Wycliffe believes that the people have a right to read it. So what does he do? He translates the Bible into a uniform language in England. During this time in the eastern counties, the East Midland section, as it is called, where the Saxons first landed and obtained a foothold, the language is almost wholly Saxon. So Dr. Wycliffe selects the East Midland, his own native dialect, which is spoken by the majority of the people. It is a strong and vigorous language and very expressive. It is and becomes the English language. Other preachers are now beginning to believe that people in their parish, in their church, have a right to read the Bible. And now the people listen to the words of the Bible with delight and wonder. And they begin to think. And when men begin to think, they take a step forward to liberty. The Bible gives them the God-given rights that they're entitled to, that they have been denied so far. The right to read, the right to acquire knowledge, the right to communicate these ideas to their children, to train their children in the way they should go, so when they get old, they will not depart from it. Schools are started. Men and women who have not known a single letter of the alphabet are learning to read. And ironically, the children are now teaching their parents because they're learning how to read in school. It's the beginning of a new way of life, a new order of things in the towns and the cities of London and England. It's the beginning of liberty, and it's all because Dr. John Wycliffe translated the Bible into the English language. And we now know that the English language, throughout the centuries and even today, has become the language of liberty. It was in 1385 that Dr. John Wycliffe went to heaven, and the grass still grows around his grave there in the Lutterworth churchyard. I had the opportunity to attend this beautiful church service with my good friend, Dr. Marshall Foster. See, this man has been dead now for hundreds of years, and yet the work he has done continues. His preaching continues. Nothing can stop a man of God. Yes, they have gotten rid of Dr. Wycliffe's bones. They've burned him and they threw him in the river. They cast those ashes into the river, and that river bears them out to the sea. But have they gotten rid of Dr. Wycliffe? No. No, because the Bible, God's Word, will never return void.